Welcome back to Mind Pump TV. I'm your host, Jordan Syatt. And this topic is a little bit more sensitive. Sometimes people get upset when I talk about it, but it's important to remember everything I'm saying is based on trying to help you the most. A lot of people in the fitness industry, especially on Instagram nowadays, people say things to pander to you, to try and get you to, essentially to try and get you to say like, I agree with you and that makes sense, rather than necessarily being like, that's the truth. And I never want to lie to you just to get you to agree with me. I want to tell you the truth to help you reach your goals. So we're going to talk about stress, and specifically, is stress making you fat? And a lot of people, especially on Instagram, I see this all the time, will say things to the effect of, cortisol is your stress hormone. And when cortisol goes up, it prevents you from losing fat. So if you're really stressed out, don't worry about your calories, don't worry about the food you're eating, don't worry about exercise. It's clearly you're just gaining fat because you're stressed. And it is a massively disingenuous argument, and it's completely oversimplified, done with the sole purpose of trying to get you to buy into what they're saying. Now, keep in mind, they're correct in saying cortisol is your stress hormone. But a lot of times the way they explain cortisol is specifically from the perspective of like, it's a bad thing. It's your stress hormone. When you're stressed, your cortisol increases. But you have to remember, cortisol isn't inherently bad. In the same way that people talk about inflammation nowadays, like it's bad, if it wasn't for inflammation, we would die. If we didn't have cortisol, we wouldn't be functioning properly. It's a good thing. Like everything in life, there's good and bad, there's positive and negative, there's balance to it all. And if we didn't have cortisol, we wouldn't be healthy, functioning humans. When it comes to gaining weight, a lot of things that are stress related, it's not that cortisol is making you gain fat, it's that when you're stressed, a lot of times what happens is you'll end up stress eating. You'll end up not working out. And the way I sort of like to explain it is, some people, when they get really stressed, you'll notice they start getting skinnier. They start losing weight. They start getting smaller. And you'll talk to them like, what's going on? Like, I'm super stressed. And for that individual, their response to stress is not to eat. Their response to stress is just, they don't do anything except they just allow themselves, they don't have hunger anymore. That's some people's response to it. Other people's response to stress is to stress eat and overeat. And we can see this in about 50% of the population. 50% of people generally get so stressed that they eliminate hunger. They don't think about food. They just focus on whatever's stressing them out. And then another 50%, when they get stressed, they just eat and eat and eat, almost as a way of coping with the stress. And it's really important to realize this, because for a lot of the people who get stressed and then end up gaining weight, they'll follow someone on Instagram who says, oh, the stress is what's making you fat. It has nothing to do with what you're eating, and it's wrong, and it's disingenuous, and it's misleading you. And what I want to say is, stress is obviously stressful, as pedantic as that sounds. Stress is tough. We all go through it, and the last thing I want to do is make you feel like your stress isn't valid, because of course it is. But what's really important to remember is that you still have control. Even when you're stressed, even when you're worried, even when you're anxious, even when you have all of this stuff in life, whether it's money or your job or your family, your relationships, stress can really fucking suck. But what sucks more is feeling like you don't have control, is feeling like, well, you're just stressed, so you're gonna get fat. And that's a lie, and it's not true. And the more you can really understand that you are in control, that even when you're stressed, and especially when you're stressed, you can still have control of your food and of your workouts and of your life. It's something that you can hold on to. You can hold on to that truth, and you can do your best to stay on track, even and especially when you're really stressed and it's hard to. Because as long as you stay on track and as long as you don't give up, you will continue to make progress.